Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for some Elite Racing League action here in the Old Testament Firearms Truck Series. It's round number 6 of the regular season here for the Tulsa BYRD Throwback 200 here at Darlington. The track that is too tough to tame, expecting these trucks to be worn out, destroyed, and the one that's still driving straight with full power, probably the one that's going to survive and win this race. My name is Sam Dyer. With me is James Easton. James, it's going to be a wild one here tonight. Thanks for coming into the booth with me here tonight with this beast of a track that is going to be interesting here. Drivers are still in the middle of practice. We got another about 5 minutes to go, and then we'll get under qualifying. But as drivers are coming around here, right now, Matthew Weeks, top of the board, but some new faces we haven't really seen a lot this season. Ethan Burrell, right now, 4th on the board in that 40 truck. Someone that we're going to have to keep our eyes on. And as always, Tyler Fody, Alexander Van de Sant, those drivers, they're still up there in the pack and up in our top 10. And certainly are drivers that we were expecting to have great runs here tonight, continue on with their consistency. But James, this is going to be a long race. Luckily, there's stages. We've got 2 stages here tonight, so tires aren't going to be something for us to worry about. But the wall is going to be probably the biggest danger for a lot of these drivers. Yeah, we are expecting these drivers to have a couple of green flag runs, but like I said, a lot of drivers, it's going to be extremely tight, especially in the corners of 3 and 4. That's where the track narrows down. Darlington, one of the more unique courses that the drivers are going to be attempting to drive at, as turn 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, they're completely different from one another. And it is going to be a fun one to watch, is because the drivers going to be carrying a lot more speed through 1 and 2. That's where we're going to be seeing a lot more drivers trying to make a lot of side-by-side passing moves, while through 3 and 4, you're going to be seeing a lot more slide job moves where cars are just sending it and trying to make some passes. But looking at all these drivers and the way they've been running, James, what have been your thoughts watching practice so far? Because it's been pretty chaotic from our point of view. Yeah, and it's certainly the difference of all these courses are going to be helping out these short track drivers. And I think that's why we're going to be seeing a lot of Chuck Sweeting, Ethan Burrell. They're going to be having some strong runs. Just topping the board, that's going to be Scott Crump, one of those drivers that has been known for great qualifying times. It's gotten a couple of poles, but a driver that I'm concerned about during race time. He has been struggling to finish out these races, and when he does finish, it's usually him surviving a wreck and still having some damage, finishing outside of the top 10. So expecting this 90 machine, at some point he's got to make a change, because James, the regular season's coming to a close. This is round number 6, and we are 2 races, not including this one, away from our regular season being over and our top 12 making the playoffs. Yeah, I mean, these trucks have gotten able to get a little bit of a breather. We've had a 2-week break after the madness that was Dirt Bristol and the trucks. A lot of carnage that came down. I think we only finished out with about 15 trucks that were still running, with how many were taken out. With some leagues, they allow fast repair. In this one, there are 0 fast repairs, so a lot of trucks were dinged and out of it. But James, with a little bit of a reset and allows these drivers to have a chance to really figure out how to attack these final three races. You got Darlington here tonight, and then you've also got Atlanta, which is going to be extremely loose and all about tires, and then a track that's kind of newish to iRacing. That's going to be Nashville short track racing. That is also a very loose course. So these drivers, they are going to be thinking about looseness for the weeks after Darlington, but here at Darlington, it is going to be tightness is going to probably be one of the bigger factors, because the longer you go on, the more tight you see, and you saw there into the outside wall. And this is the type of beating and banging that we are, it was just a simple tap on the outside wall that cost that driver to be wrecking it there on the front stretch. Yep. We Yeah, we're going to practice. Practice is over. Qualifying is starting, so everyone is now resetting. The track surface slightly being changed up and getting ready to go. As on board with the 97 machine of Alexander Van de Sant, with Andrew Lutz. I mean, with Ryan Lutz no longer racing the last couple of weeks. It has now put the 97 on top of the board. Winner back at Sonoma and hoping to rebound after the chaos that was last week. Alexander Van Sant, one of those drivers, excited to see how he's going to be running here as everyone's starting up their warm-up lap and trying to get on. Now, everyone's going to be running for 2 laps. Their best lap is your qualifying time. And here at Darlington and on iRacing, qualifying times, if you hit the wall or lose control, that is an invalid lap time. That is probably one of the best saves we have seen all season long. Completely 45 degrees was the 97. Able to hold on. That's going to scrub speed off. So the second lap time, not going to be the best for Alexander Van de Sant. And currently, based off those first laps, it's going to be Christopher Smeltzer, top of the board. It's Van de Sant second. And it looks like about half the field trying to go early on the qualifying, while the rest of the field, we might be seeing some of them starting in the back and others trying to put themselves forward as Van de Sant on to come up short. Smeltzer, top of the board once again. It's going to be also Chuck Sweeting going to be top of the board. It's going to continuously shift throughout qualifying. Still a lot of drivers getting ready for how they're going to attack qualifying. So we still have a little bit under 3 minutes to go here in qualifying. So still plenty of time for themselves as we will slowly get switching to some of the other drivers that are qualifying here shortly. It's going to be a wild one here tonight. We do have a couple of drivers that are going to have to start at the back of the field, hit with an EOL because of their banners not being correct. Looks like we're going to be having issues with the 53 of Thomas, as well as the 00 of Barney, and the 30 of McCurdy, as well as the 37 of Wellgreen. So expecting all 4 of those drivers going to the back of the field just because of their banners. So it doesn't matter how well they qualify. If they qualify, they will be dropping to the back unless they've been able to talk it to the admins properly. As it's a quiet time out there. James, drivers, some of them are able to get times on the board, others still waiting. It looks like Matthew Weeks of the 14 might be a driver that's getting ready to start his first lap, actually finish his first lap in the 14 machine. So Matthew Weeks, one of the fastest drivers during practice, was the second fastest. Who was the fastest? It was Scott Crump, who is actually top of the board currently. As Matthew Weeks' first lap time going to be a 29.014, best 12th on the board currently. Well, like I was saying, Crump currently top of the board with a 28.435-second lap time, over almost 2/10 faster than the second fastest car, which is Tate Lytle. Yeah, well, another one of those drivers that's trying to best his time, that's going to be Hank Steinmiller. Who's going to be coming across this time by, and he was third fastest on the board, going to be going second fastest now, going to be beating out Lytle. So 63 of Hank Steinmiller, one of those drivers that has looked quick, going to be hoping for a better time. Looking at some other drivers that are on track, the 41 of Tyler Fody. It's another one of those drivers. Now, our ticker and the number that he's going to be driving are going to be different. Normally, Fody is running the 40 machine, so you'll be seeing that. But currently, on our ticker, it will say 41. As you can see there. James, I'm going to ask for you to do Control R. That should reset trade-in paints, and
Okay.
then it might fix up where the drivers are. This is Throwback, the Throwback 200, sponsored by Tilsum, and do want to give a big thanks to Tilsum for sponsoring today's race. Tilsum, known for firsthand how to optimize human resources, and also can transfer a business and help the foundation of sustaining success. They are very good at developing systems, tools, programs, and methodologies, and leaning towards basically having the best environment to support and experience professionals. They can really help you become the best at controlling your costs, as well as making the best productions, and just overall helping yourself as a company. Tulsum, thank you so much for sponsoring. If you want more information on Tulsum, go on Google, look them up. They are great, and thank you so much for helping and sponsoring the Tulsum BYRD Throwback 200. It is exciting to see how this race is going to go. Top of the board is we bring up our race grid. It's going to be Scott Crump, going to be on top of the board. And then you got Hank Steinmiller, Lytle, as well as Third Third going to be a driver to watch out for. He is really good at being there at the end. It's great to see a great qualifying time. Chuck Sweeting, a driver that is well known for saving tires and fuel, one of the best out there. As well as you got Thomas. Thomas was going to be dinged, so we'll wait and see if Thomas gets hit and pushed back, and he will be hit with a EOL, as well as you've got yourself with Harrison Talon hit with an EOL, Barney, McCurdy, as well as Waller Green. Those drivers I was talking about earlier, they were hit with EOLs as well. It looks like Onsen and Ethan Burrell going to be with EOLs. It is their first time racing, and they were just caught with the wrong banners. So, some drivers, we're a couple of weeks in, and race control and adamants, they're very adamant on the fact that you need to make sure that you are rocking the preferred schemes and right banners to make sure yourself is eligible for your qualifying times that matter.
Yes, sir. And you got through all the top 8 of the grid, correct, Sam?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's see. Start off ninth place. We got Alexander, the number 9 car. Jeff Green, number 10, starting. Tony Edmondson, number 72, starting 11th. Michael Goodman, number 44, starting 12th. Tyler Foti, number 41, running 13th. Matthew Weeks, starting 14th with the number 14 car. Tyler Dixon, the number 54 car, starting 15th. And Cody McCordle, starting 16th tonight.
McCordle is going to be trying to get back into this thing. And then you've also got Cooper Johnson, Kendall Noah Player, Dustin Dorr, as well as Zach Evans, Mike Heller, as well as Weller Green. Weller Green going to be doing the best that he can, but did get hit with an EOL, so going to the back of the line. Then you got Harrison Talon, who's also going back. Jacob Palmer, as well as Ethan Burrell. Ethan Burrell going to be starting off there. He's going to get hit with the EOL, but all the drivers from 25th back did not put a lap time down, so they're going to be having to figure out how to work their way through traffic.
Yeah, it looks like 25th and 32nd did kind of qualifying. Burrell, Blake Barney, Austin McCurdy, Austin Beers, Ryan Barbieri, Alec Balvans, Anders Crone, and Zishan Durera still not putting out qualifying time, so they'll be starting from 25 to 34th back here in the Elite Racing Network.
And the green flag is out. That's Scott Crump going to be trying to make his charge forward in the 90 machine. And he's got a lot of drivers to watch out behind him as everyone's getting single filed out. Side by side action is going on for sixth place, where it looks like we're seeing Smeltzer. He is not having a great run out of the corner and he is dropping back quickly.
Get a car angle on the number 16 tonight. Excuse me, the 94. Just absolute massive packs tonight here at Darlington Speedways. Everybody's fighting their best to A, get through the first lap clean, hopefully tuck in single file, click off some laps, and then worry about passing before we go 3 wide right off the bat.
Yeah, everyone is now starting to single file up, and this is expected to see at Darlington. If everyone's single filing, that means everyone is understanding it's a long race. You don't need to put yourself in any type of difficult situation where you'd be ruining your race or someone else's. Now, this is stage racing. We're racing to the end of lap 45. Once the top 10 have all crossed the line, that's when we'll be seeing ourselves with our first stage coming to a close. And then on the end of lap 90, that will be the end of stage 2, and then we'll race to the end of our 147 lap race. And it has been exciting to see really a lot of up front. They're spacing out cleanly. It's the battling from 7th on back. They are really starting to clog up and accordion onto one another.
Yeah, that's when things should get a little bit dangerous tonight, Sam. When people start checking up and exactly that accordion effect, one just takes one guy to break. The guy behind him breaks a little bit late. Next thing you know, the third, fourth truck in line just come flying in hot with nowhere to go. That's when things are going to get really excited. We're going to take it over to Jeff Green running 9th right now. He's in the middle of this pack where they're trying to get noses in, thinking about going 3 wide. But no. Too early in the race as people are still getting loose. The cars haven't tightened up. Too early to risk it for some of these guys.
Yeah, and also Jeff Green, a veteran of real life racing, 2000. I believe he was 2000 Busch Series champion, so certainly has a lot of experience, but contact there with Goodman, and now going to be ducking it down low, able to hold on, but Goodman got the worst of it being placed into the wall. They still scatter, and they still hold on as we stay green.
Absolute bloodbath out there already. We're on lap 5, 147 for the night, and the guys are just taking it as clean as they possibly can, but again, these guys are fighting for position, fighting for every point they possibly can, so somewhere something has to give where these guys are going to say, all right, it's time, we got to go for it, and then doing their best to keep it clean, but realizing, hey, it's a short track, you got to make something happen for better or worse these times.
Yeah, and really for all those guys out there, you're hoping to not get that type of early damage, as that is going to be something that lingers until you can go into pit road and hope that a caution comes out. If not, wait until the end of stage 1 when you can finally go into pit road and get that fully damaged. Behind Jeff Green, you've got Fody, who's starting to make a charge forward in that 41 machine. And Tyler Fody, he has been known to do so well in both the trucks, Cup, Xfinity cars. It doesn't matter which vehicle he is in. This 41 machine is always known to be driving up front in the top 10.
And he's getting closer and closer here. We are on the onboard in the right rear trying to watch the 41 snake in. He's gaining just a little bit every lap, staying in the draft, staying clean, and may try and press the issue here in a second as he's going to try and dive, I think, down low in one of the upcoming corners.
Yeah, kind of waiting to see what's going to happen. Like I stated, really, it seems like the car that has been slowing everyone up is Christopher Smeltzer, who had a great qualifying run for the 23 machine, qualified up into the 8th position, has been just running there, but he just has not been able to figure out the entries of these corners, which is bogging everyone else down. But here comes Fody trying to make another pass forward to put himself up to 9th place.
Yeah, 23 with a fair amount of aero damage already on that front right and the right side where he tagged the wall. It's going to hurt him real bad if we continue with a good long green flag run. 41,
yellow flag.
Yep, yellow flag is out.
That's going to be Dylan Jones and also Scott Haney. Back of the field, both of them heavily damaged, and it looks like Scott Haney, blown engine. His day most likely done. Looks like Scott Haney was the initial cause of this for the 3 machine. It was coming on the entry of turn number 3. He was getting pressured heavily by the 30. Yeah, you're seeing him already smoking there, and it looks like we do not have that clip for us. But It's just a lot of hard racing for those drivers and expecting them to really have a hard time moving forward. And we'll see how these drivers are able to react, but we'll try to get everyone situated on where they need to be. But this massive of a field, sometimes our cameras just aren't able to pick up all the action that happens, and we'll hopefully get the next caution that comes up.
Yeah, hopefully so. I have a feeling, Sam, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there will probably be more than one tonight. What do you think?
Oh yeah, no, I rewatched that accident. And I know we don't have it on replay, but it looked like the 30 absolutely just ran over Scott Haney, and Scott Haney got the worst of it. His engine's blown. He's in pit road trying to get the repairs done, and his day is practically completely over. There's no way for him to come back from this. And you hate to see that type of a wreck for a driver that wasn't trying to put himself into any type of danger, just got completely ran over.
Yeah, nothing you can do about that. I mean, you have good days and you've got bad days, and unfortunately, the bad days can be totally affected by something out of your control that you just can't have anything to do with. So we hate to see that for him. Hopefully the repairs will be quick, although not likely, and we'd like to see him back out there.
Yeah, hopefully Sky Haney will be back in racing shape. If we have a lot of cautions that come out, actually we'll give the 3 time to figure out how to get back out there. And if other drivers have issues and decide, hey, I'm not going to get repairs done, I feel like it's too late to come back, maybe he might decide to park it while other drivers think about continue going.
And Sam, so we're finishing up our first, we'll call it a 10 lap green flag run. What do you think's more important tonight? Track position or keeping your aero clean for the longer runs?
I mean, it's a mixture of both. You're going to be really wanting to make sure that your truck is clean, but as long as you've got full power and you're not losing any of your, losing any RPMs, you're good to go at a truck like this. But I think track position extremely important for a lot of these drivers. I mean, McCurdy, he had a great qualifying run, but because he got the EOL because of the banner issues, he was placed back with where the slower drivers were, and he felt like, hey, I'm going to be a lot more aggressive, and it backfired and hurt himself a little bit and the drivers around him.
Yeah, 100% we're not where you want to be it a league race, a public lobby here on the iRacing Network. The worst place you can possibly find yourself is in the middle of the pack surrounded by people you don't know that well and their driving abilities. That's when you can get collected out of nowhere for something that could be entirely not your fault. So ideally you want to be at the front. Again, like you said, a clean truck where you can put down some laps and just kind of get away from the carnage as the field separates a little bit.
Yeah, and as drivers are still going around, we're getting ready to go green here shortly. We do have some drivers that have officially been DNF'd. Austin McCurdy has been removed and was given a DQ because of that incident. And then also looks like the 22 of Dylan Jones, who was involved in Scott Haney's incident. He is also parked it for the day. So 2 DNFs already early in this race. We haven't even gotten to lap 15 yet. It looks like we'll be going green this time by.
Yes, sir. Good to see for the most part. Everybody's trying to do their best to stay clean. The league officials, the race control tonight doing their best to make sure things stay nice and tight and friendly along everybody. You see one car drop out of line. He maybe have an EOL there. But yeah, hopefully it's going to be another good green flag run. Everybody keeps it clean. The only bad part about these restarts, Sam, is it stacks the field again. And everybody's right back where they started. 2 by 2 all the way back, and more chance for things to get exciting for us.
Yeah, and for a lot of these guys, they're going to have to try to figure out, okay, can we keep it as clean as we were? I got to say, that first start that we had for this race, it was probably the cleanest start you could ask for. Everyone got in line. They weren't trying anything risky, but we have now almost gotten halfway through stage 1, and now drivers are realizing you got to be in the top 10 if you want stage points. So expecting the aggression level to pick up just a little bit more as we are green here for the Tilsman BYRD Throwback 200, and it's going to be Scott Crump. Great start for himself going into the lead.
Yes, Scott Crump, great start, followed by Tate Light, followed by Hank Spanmeyer, then Chad Turnquist making up our top 4. He's immediately got a gap. Hopefully keep that thing running, keep that clean air. Just hopefully the field will loosen up a little bit. Oh, 55 as the Tate goes into the wall just a little bit. They are using every little bit of that racetrack that they can to try and get some speed going here on the opening laps of the restart.
Yeah, and then also behind them, you got Chuck Sweeting that got extremely out of shape out of 4 and actually was getting his bumper absolutely shoved by Turnquist. Luckily, the 75 was able to hold on to it. That was a terrifying moment for these drivers, with everyone being so stacked up early on in this run. You don't want to wreck like that, but, touching on the fact that Tate Lytle was touching the wall, that's what we're expecting to see. Darlington stripe is a well-known phrase because drivers are usually getting into that outside wall. You want to be close to the outside wall when you're running around this course. It's one of the fastest places to be. And it's usually, if you're hitting it on the center of the corner, means you might be pushing the truck a little bit too hard. If you're hitting it off the exit, you might be getting the throttle a little bit too soon.
Exactly, especially in a game of tire wear. That outside line will develop pretty good. You're not going to be scrubbing that front right just as hard. 56 into the wall again, the Tate Lytle. He's using every bit of the racetrack he can to try and find some speed, but just uses that extra little bit that he's not supposed to. Leaves the first big race stripe going around. Looks like... Yep, he is getting overtaken by Hank Steinmeier after touching the wall.
Yeah, I mean, just like that, you're going to be seeing Hank be able to pull away, and Tate Lytle, you can hit the wall a couple of times, but at some point, that damage is going to be hurting you. It's going to hurt with your turning, and especially, yes, aero, and then also going to be hurting your suspension a little bit, because if you hit the wall enough on the front end, your steering is going to feel off, and you are not going to be able to really turn and enter the corners the way you used to.
An absolute freight train following Hank tonight. Looks like 2nd through 7th is stacked up less than you can throw a blanket over all of them. So we're going to see if Hank here can hold it off. He's got Tate right behind him with a little bit of aero damage after tagging the wall a couple times. Tate looks like he's going to slow down the pack just a little bit. The guys behind him are going to stack up, and again, that's where things can get exciting. They're going to get antsy. They're going to want to try and make something happen. And then after a while, they'll get impatient. You might see a little bit of fender taps, letting people going, hey man, it's time to go.
Oh boy, a driver that got into the wall in the back half of the field. That is going to be Harrison Talon in the 51, hard into the outside wall coming out of 4. And it is not a good day for the 51. Started off with an EOL and tried to make his way forward, but just wasn't able to. He's going to need a lot of repairs being done at the end of stage 1.
Yeah, huge aero damage on the 51. The right side of his truck is just absolutely destroyed. Front right's destroyed. I mean, he's already having a rough day, but you definitely count on that not helping him out. Looks like he's going to drop low line. Nope, thought he might have been looking for a pit entry, but he's going to stay out there for as long as he can. And again, try and keep that track position up and hope for another yellow flag so he can come in for repairs.
Yeah, right now he's gauging how slow am I. Is it worth going into the pits now or just hold on? But a caution coming out behind him. That looks like it's going to be Jacob Palmer going to be causing this accident.
See if we can find Palmer on the board.
Palmer going to be all the way back. He was battling at the time for 33rd position. He was battling with Brent Jones at the time for that contact, and here on the entry of turn number 1, just hard racing for themselves. Coming to the corner.
Here's the replay for you. 39 goes in the wall, tags the inside, just carnage behind him, collects the 08 as well, and just goes from bad to worse on that one.
Immediately, Jacob came over the radio and said sorry. He just got in there a little aggressive, and that's that side-by-side racing that, when drivers are that close to one another, it can become costly.
Not on purpose, sorry about that. And then, I mean, it's a racing incident. What can you do besides can't be upset at the guy. We're at Darlington tonight.
Yeah, EOL going to be given to Jacob just because he was the cause of the caution. And due to the rules, if it's a racing incident where drivers just make a mistake, then it will not be put on a driver. But if they feel like, hey, this is driver that the caution was his fault, then they will penalize that driver. So Jacob EOL, and he will be starting at the end of the line. A couple of drivers had to come into pit road. The biggest name, that's going to be Tate Lytle. Had to come into the pits, and that 56 machine was up to 3rd. But because of how many times he was slamming the wall, had to come in.
Yep, just ran out of air that he was allowed to expend on that one. You have to make that call. Hey, like you said, is it worth staying out? Or am I dropping so back? Am I stacking up the pack so deep? Do I take the chance at this yellow, spend a couple minutes on optionals if I can, and hopefully get the car back up to pace?
Yeah, hoping they can get enough damage repaired and then get back out there. Looks like Tate Lytle was able to get that damage repair back out on track, and we'll be back in 31st position. So a long way to go for the 56 machine. Also, Harrison Talon, one of those drivers that hit the wall extremely hard, needed a caution. or the end of stage 1, he got a lot of damage that he had to get repaired, and currently should stay on the lead lap and does so, back in 34th position.
That's where you want to be right here at Darlington. I mean, as bad as things are going for him, as long as he can stay on the lead lap, survive, and start clicking off positions, he can hopefully salvage some points for tonight and the season, and just kind of keep the ball rolling. That's the biggest thing he can do right now, I think, is to stay out there and just gain points by attrition.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about survival at this point. Already 2 quick cautions here in the first 22 laps, so it's going to be a long one. We still have stage 1 to finish. That's going to be at the end of lap 45. Harrison Talon going back into pit road, so still a lot of damage on the 51 machine. But James, quick racing. We've seen a couple of small green flag runs. What have your thoughts been so far?
I'm very, very impressed with the top 5. Like we were saying, you can throw a blanket over all of them. Scott Crump's running great tonight. Hank Steinmiller running really well as well. Now that they have that damaged car out of their way, it's not going to be stacking the pack so much behind them. I'm curious to see if these top 5 guys can, hit the gas pedal, fall single file in line, and just start clicking off some laps here.
A driver we do want to notify is going to be Dylan Thomas. Qualified up in 6th place, had the EOL, had to drop all the way back to around 35th position, has moved up to 22nd place. So Dylan Thomas, he might be slowly making his way forward, but certainly a driver to watch out for if he can keep that truck clean moving forward in this race.
Exactly. Again, I think it's going to be a race of attrition tonight. It's going to be guys that can survive, keep the trucks clean, try and get the best clean green flag runs they possibly can, and then just start slowly working through the field tonight.
Other drivers that have made some really good moves forward, that's going to be Crone in the 03 machine, as well as Rochelle Kozlaw. They've made a lot of big moves, up 15 positions for both those drivers, as well as Brady Moore, excuse me. He's moved up 15 positions for himself. So been seeing a lot of drivers able to work up into the top 20 and doing a great job for themselves, even though they started further back at the start of the race.
Here they're stacking it up, getting ready for the restart. We're going to see Scott Crump, Hank Maurer, I think, working together tonight, trying to work in tandem. Again, just trying to click off some laps, get this thing going, keep their trucks clean, and try and pull away from that front to middle pack, and just, again, trying to escape the carnage and just survive here at Darlington. Trying to make it to the first stage, take tires. Usually on these short tracks, tires are good for 30 to 40 runs at the highest before they get unbearably tight. We're going to see these guys walking that razor's edge between pushing it as hard as they can and also saving that front right from digging into the embankment and smoking out too early on these runs.
Yeah, I mean, speaking about tires, the drivers in pit road have 4 sets to work with, in total of 5 during the whole entire race. So, they've got tires to work with. Most likely we're going to be seeing everyone pitting at the stages, and then they'll think about, making at least one green flag pit stop if we stay green for the final stint of this race. But most likely, a lot of drivers are going to be having a lot of mind games later on the end of this race. If we have a lot of cautions going on, is track position the most important thing, or are tires the most important?
Yeah, it's huge if at this point. We're averaging about 10 lap runs at a time under green. Scott Crump's got something figured out as he's starting to slowly pull away from that pack behind him, with Hank Steinmauer right behind, leading that freight train of cars trying to catch the lead. Again, I don't know if they're going to worry too much about tires, or if it's going to be 10 lap green runs at a time and everybody just takes the same tires at the same time. I'd like to see some green lap pit stop strategies come into play tonight, ideally. That makes for good, exciting racing. What we're seeing these guys commit is a green flag pit stop, immediately followed by yellow with the carnage going on here in Darlington.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those things where the drivers have to focus on where they want to place themselves. But oh no, one of our top contenders in points getting into the outside wall, Alexander Van de Son. He's now very slow on the inside, got into the outside wall through 3 and 4. He's now starting to drop back to 11th when he was up to around 7th place. Other drivers that are trying to make their way forward but are struggling. That's going to be Christopher Smeltzer, who is continuously dropping back as well, hard on the outside wall once again. And this 23 machine, ever since the drop of the green, he has been up in the top 10, but certainly does not look like a top 10 machine. He is struggling to stay up front and continuously seems to be a wall And that blanket of cars we were talking about, that is starting really up front. Everyone's keeping themselves about a 3 to 2 to sometimes only 1/10 between one another. But caution happening in the middle of the pack. And that looks like that's going to be Austin Beers and others around trying to scatter away. This driver's really in trouble. Austin Beer looked like coming out of turn number 2, collecting himself with some other machines around him. Looks like Zach Evans, another one of those drivers involved with the collision. It sounds like race control going to be deeming this a racing incident, so no EOL is going to be given, which is an odd call, but you know, race control, they are seeing the race as unbiasedly as possible. As we are going to be trying to get the replay here, it's going to be a crazy one, James, as drivers are now having to make a tough decision on where they want to place themselves. We're coming close to the end of stage 1. End of stage 1 is at the end of lap 45 for these drivers, and we've been seeing about 10 lap runs. So once we go green once again, should be another 10 lap run before caution comes around. Not expecting a lot of drivers to come into the pits, though.
I'm not either. I think they're going to stay out as long as they can. Again, under Darlington, these guys should be able to go 40 laps before the tires fall off very, very badly. So I think they're going to stay out, try and wait for that stage in. Unfortunately, our camera crew tonight did not pick up that replay of the incident. We're going to yell at those guys after this and get them up on the par. But yeah, it's unfortunate to see these mid-pack cars keep running into more and more problems. The rear end of the number 6, Evans, the car is absolutely ruined, it looks like, from that rear impact that he took.
Yeah, Evans really, he was completely smushed. Austin Beers just came across his nose and kind of just smushed him up. Had a little bit of rear contact from other machines, and they're going to have to spend a lot of time here trying to get repairs done. And, the best time, get a little bit of repairs done this caution. And then, based off the speeds that we're seeing from our leaders and the drivers in the back, even if we go green all the way until the end of stage 1, you should be able to stay on the lead lap and then get more repairs done at the end of stage 1. There is still stage 2 and then the end of the race, so plenty of time to get repairs done in this 147 lap race. Do want to give a big thanks to all of our sponsors, our primary sponsors here. We got Old Testament Firearms, our primary sponsor here for the truck series, and they have been so helpful in making sure this truck series can be the best that it can be. They are pledged to honor God and also provisions and qualities and firearms, and making sure that you get the best value possible for customer service and beyond. So please message Old Testament Firearms if you want the best service out there.
Yeah, huge thanks to those guys for coming on board, especially since the coronavirus started. It's been absolutely crazy in the firearms industry. So again, you can't thank those guys enough for what they're doing and providing the public with what they need during these crazy times for the last year and a half. I know in the industry it's been unbearably busy for those guys. So again, huge ups to them, and thank you for coming on board for this.
Also, huge thanks to C2 Freight's resources. If you need anything moved, if it's large, small, C2 Freights has got you. They are honestly some of the best movers for any types of supplies. If it is something massive as big as a freight or as small as a couple of printers, they've got you. Also, big thanks to some of the, for Richmar florists, one of the major floristries industries that come out and have been involved in racing for so long. It's great to have them on board as well. Well, pace car lights are off. We are going this time by. Scott Crump, Hank Steinmiller, they have been your front two for the past 20 laps. After seeing Tate Lytle come into the pits after just absolutely clobbering the wall multiple times. Looking at some of the drivers that have been making some good moves forward, Matthew Weeks, Tyler Fody, those are the two drivers in my eyes. You've got to keep your eyes out that they might be making some charges later on. I think they might be in tire saving mode. But everyone else in the rest of the field that have been making some moves forward, my eye, Tate Lytle, he went from back in 31st position. He's now moved himself all the way up to 19th into the top 20, so still has a lot of time to go. But these drivers getting ready to go. Green pace car is off,
and we are green.
And green flag.
Let's see if Scott, Hank, Chad, and Chuck can get back in line. Like we were saying earlier, they're keeping respectful distance among other competitors. They're willing to get in the line and start chugging off laps. They know there's some of the faster guys out there. They want to keep their trucks just as clean as they are now. I think their goal right now is to make that stage in, get later on to the race line and then start bumping and grinding if they need to make positions. But for now, it looks like they're happy kind of letting the cards fall where they are. And as I say that, we got guys going inside trying to take a little look, see what their competitors have ready for them, but they want to keep those trucks going as long as they can, just avoid all the carnage that keeps happening here at Darlington.
Speaking of carnage, yellow flag is out, and that is Tyler Dixon. Hard into the outside wall coming out of turn number 2, and just nowhere to go for the 54 machine. That is such an odd place, though. His car just jumps up in the middle of the corner. That was such a netcode type of a wreck. No one really made contact with the 54. His car just jumped up randomly. It's like he hit a major bump in the road. That is crazy.
What's equally crazy tonight, Sammy, it looks like the iRacing camera crew is not catching a lot of these crashes. I don't know if it's because it's such a large field going on tonight or what might be going on, but yeah, not able to catch a replay on that one either.
Yeah, I think it is because of the size of the field. And at the stage break, we'll do a quick commercial or at least a little bit of a tiny break, and we'll try to get things sorted here. So at the end of stage, well, for stage 2 and beyond, we should be able to capture all of our racing goods. But for right now, Scott Crump up front. If anything, since we're under caution, James, you can bring up the replay screen, and then you can go to options for me on iRacing. And then once you're in options, I want you to go to graphics. And in graphics, go down to draw max cars, draw, make that 64. Yep, to all or 64. And that should make it to where we see the future cautions that come out. So thank you all for being patient with us. James has been awesome to come up into the booth. This was a last minute thing, but we've all had our hiccups throughout the season.
Yeah, no worries. It was great to get a phone call from the Elite Racing Network guys to invite me on board tonight. It's been a bunch of fun in the booth here with Sam, and hopefully we get some more racing action to keep it entertaining for the guys at home as well.
Yeah, and it's looking like, based off the timing of this caution, we're going to have a little short shootout to figure out how we're going to get our top 10 drivers and where they're at. Some of the drivers that are surprising me that are in the top 10 currently, Vincent Isabella, who's in 4th. Isabella is known for being the driver that is in the middle of the pack, and then once we get to the final 30 laps, surprises us and is in the top 10 or top 5. Not usually a driver that we see up front early in a race. So this 42 truck, expecting big things later on if he's already up here this early. And then also Michael Goodman has had a lot of different contacts into the wall, has been pushed by other trucks. Somehow, even with the bumps and bruises he's got, I'm running in 10th place.
Yeah, absolutely impressive, the number 42 car. I think he's finally worked on his race program. Some guys struggle with the short runs, and they do great in the long runs. So it's good to see him figuring out that short to mid-range game here at Darlington and trying to get the pace going on and maybe be a contender for the lead pack as we come into the end of stage 1.
Excited to see how these drivers are going to be reacting here. As end of stage 1, like we said, end of lap 45. Top 10 drivers get stage points. Starting off with first place, going to get 10 points all the way down to 10th place where they will get 1. And this is major. We are coming to the end of regular season. We've got this race here at Darlington. Then we go to Atlanta and then Nashville. And then the top 12 in points, they get to race in the playoffs for a couple of weeks.
Oh, iRacing's doing iRacing things again.
Of the season, but certainly excited for it. Some of the favorite drivers, Alexander Van Asant, top of the board currently in points, but right now during this race, back in 33rd position, had to go back into pit road, get more service done to that 97 truck. So concern for our points leader currently, but We'll see how the 97 can rebound, as it's still a very long race. We're not even at the 100 laps to go marker yet. Still over 100 laps left in this race.
I know, Sam, they're racing like it's 5 laps to go the entire time. The guys are as patient as they need to be, but still willing to push it throughout the duration. I don't think tire wear is going to come into that much of a play during stage 1. We've had just too many cautions. So they should be able to go a bump. Oh, they're separating bad at the start. Not sure what happened, if a car checked up, if somebody got antsy, but it was one heck of a restart there with some rear bumpers taking a little bit of abuse.
Yeah, it looked like Fody as well as Weeks trying to make some moves, bump each other on the starts, and it backfired on both of them, hurting Fody, who's now dropped back to 11th after he was up around 7th place, and also Weeks has dropped back. So a little bit of shuffling for those that are in the top 10 as we're coming close to 6 laps to go at the end of stage 1.
Yeah, it just takes half a second of mistakes, and then everything shuffled up again. The cards are gone. The top 5 groups staying the same, running clean, but behind them the entire pattern is shuffled. Looks like it's going to give some of those top 10 guys a chance to move up a few positions, get a few more points here in stage 1, and then hopefully they'll be able to pull home these last 5 laps under green and then do their stage finish.
Dylan Thomas right now running in 13th place, trying to figure out how to get by the 41 of Tyler Fody. Dylan Thomas qualified in 6th place, but was hit with an EOL because of the wrong banners on the truck. So he's had to work his way through the whole entire field, and currently almost about to be in the top 10 for stage points.
He is pushing hard tonight, doing his best to get up there, salvage some points in this run just by starting at the back. And it's absolutely impressive how close these drivers are running that high line to get as much speed as they possibly can without doing that Darlington tail tap we talked about earlier. Scott Crump, we're currently running first. He has about a good 6 to 8 inches tops between the white line and his back rear bumper. He's using every bit he can to keep this pace going with Hank and the boys falling behind him.
Yeah, I mean, right now, Thomas, he is really hunting to be in the top 10. Currently going into this race, 14th in points, so just outside of that top 12 marker. So he needs to be getting every single point if possible, because right now, he's only about 3 points coming into this race outside of the top 12. So this 53 truck certainly has the power in trying to make himself up front.
Yeah, currently on board with Hank Steinmiller doing his best to slowly chase down Crump, staying in the draft, trying not to push that front right too hard. 2 laps to go. He may be happy taking home his 2nd place point to the stage finish, but part of me says racers are going to race. They're going to push it as hard as they can and try and make something happen if they're given the chance.
Yeah, I mean, you got to really push it as hard as you can. Scott, one of those drivers that's outside of actually the top 20 in points, so he's really wanting to have the best moment and get a top finish here in these stages. So if you're able to get, 10 points in stage 1 and then another 10 points in stage 2, you're already getting the minimum amount of points that you can get just by finishing in last place. So it's a great job to see Scott Crump up front running well. But Hank Steinmiller, he's keeping it close as we are now coming to the white flag of stage number 1. Once they finish this lap, we'll have the end of stage 1.
Yep, 63 pulling in closer and closer. Hank's doing his best to try and get right on that rear tail of Scott. I don't think he's going to quite have enough speed to bring it home or try and make a move before the finish of the stage, but he's doing his absolute best here.
These drivers going to be racing. It's all about whenever the driver in 10th place comes across the line and that battle for 10th place is heating up. Michael Goodman is about to lose that spot to Dylan Thomas, and then also in front of them it's going to be Smeltzer getting into the outside wall. Thomas takes 2 for the price of 1 as he moves up to 9th place.
Look at him go. 53 has a huge run after there after avoiding the carnage behind him, and just takes one bump to slow you down a good bit. I mean, 10 miles an hour is a ton here at Darlington. So he's able to get the drive, slowly check out for the 23 and 44 and make things happen, get those much needed points tonight.
Also, got to give a huge credit to Tate Lytle. Had to come into the pits early around lap 15 to try to get some damage repair. Able to move up to 5th place. So some drivers were able to redeem themselves even with early struggles.
Looks like field is starting to separate just a little bit here. Stage 1 comes to a draw.
Everyone's trying to race to the pace car and then get in line, then go in the pits. But this is the end of stage 1. It's going to be Scott Crump, Hank Steinmiller, Vincent Isabella, Chad Thornquist, Tate Lytle, Kendall Noah Player, Jeff Green, Matthew Weeks, Dylan Thomas. And finishing out your top 10, it's going to be Christopher Smeltzer in the 23 machine, which I've got to give credit to Smeltzer for even staying inside of the top 10 after how much it has been a struggle for that driver and that team to even stay off the wall.
I agree. The back six of that top 10 has been a shuffle the entire time. There's some people we didn't expect to see that far back. Matthew Weeks, great qualifier, did really well in practice. Jeff Green doing extremely well tonight. So the guys are racing as hard as they can, just enjoying the Darlington shuffle as people are bumping and grinding and tail tapping and just completely changing things up tonight. We're going to see the cars come in. I think everybody's going to take forward, take fuel, and then they're going to get ready for stage 2.
Yeah, some drivers are deciding to stay out, actually. Tate Lytle, as well as Crone and Barney, all staying out. Cooper Johnson following his suit. So 4 drivers staying out, trying to get some, some were trying to hope that they would get that lap-led bonus, but it looks like that's going to be going to Tate Lytle, who never was able to get past that of Scott Crump. Crump, he's led almost every lap this race. We'll see if he can get out of pit road first, and he will, beating out Hank Steinmiller. Well, James got to see one stage. We still got stage 2 and then racing to the end of this thing. A lot of racing to go, less than 100 laps to be for these drivers. Once we go green once again, you got to see a little bit more racing. How are you feeling about these guys?
I'm enjoying it. It's a great show tonight. Everybody's running their best. The Elite Racing Network racers tonight, I mean, they're the best of the best. So these top 10 guys, even this Elite Racing Network, are faster than you'd ever see at any other place. A little bit of a hiccup there from the broadcast booth, but we got it back.
A little bit. That's fine. We've already had a couple. It's all about having fun up in the booth.
And we do that pretty darn well, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, it has been a blast. It's my first time working with you, James, and it has been amazing to work with you in this just one stage. Been enjoying it.
Oh, this is a blast, man. Coming from a motorcycle background, it's nothing but huge respect for the online truck drivers and the real life guys. It is fast is fast. It doesn't matter what discipline you're doing. So these guys are on the ragged edge trying to get around. So people think watching at home, oh man, they're just going fast, they're turning left, and the nuances that go into making that happen at close to 200 miles an hour at times, it's just mind-blowing, everything that goes into it.
Yeah, it is crazy. I mean, I've touched iRacing a few times in the last couple of months, really trying to get better and understand iRacing a lot more, especially with the new update that came out in the last couple of weeks. And so it has been interesting to see how much racing has evolved from previously in the patch to now, and how drivers are adapting, and it's been a fun one. Looking at some of the drivers that actually had to come into pit road, shocking to see Tyler Fody on that last restart. We saw him get jumbled up with Matthew Weeks, and it might have been a little bit of front-end damage that has been hurting the 41. Wasn't able to make the charge that he wanted to do, so he's been coming into pit road trying to get repairs done periodically. 41 truck, someone to watch out for. Either he is too damaged to make it through, or I'm expecting him to absolutely blister through this field.
Yeah, I'm 100% agreeing with you. And somebody else that surprised me, Tate Lytle, like you're saying, did not take that lap 35 pit stop. His tires are currently 14 laps old. Not sure if that's going to be a big difference on the restart with everybody else behind him coming off 4 fresh ones, or if that track division is going to pay off dividends as he's able to stack the field up slightly behind him and make things happen here.
Yeah, our top 4 did not pit, so it is going to be a wild one. Hopefully we don't see any trucks wheel spinning. But that is always a factor whenever you are on older tires, and always a fear for a lot of the field. If you are running in that, 3rd to 4th lane of drivers with the fresher tires, you might run over the drivers in front of you because they might wheel spin, but pace car is off. We are green. Tate Lytle got a great launch as they're side by side for 2nd place and back.
Yeah, spectacular launch. No tire spin. He rolled it on nice and easy 2nd gear, it looks like, and then clicked up and started making things happen. He is absolutely flying off that restart. Apparently 14 lap old tires not affecting him negatively at all as he starts to gain a big gap on 2nd, 3rd, and 4th right behind him. Big crash behind him.
That's going to be the 92 of Thornquist getting loose, and all these drivers, they're not used to the new tires that are slick, and away he goes. Might have been a little bit of help, but also Scott Crump. This is someone that we need to watch out for the 90 machine, because he has not touched dirty air at all. He is stuck behind traffic, a factor that we have not seen how well the 90 can deal with.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what some of these guys, if they're have a long run setup, if they're aiming for short runs, and their driving style is reflected around that. Very curious to see how it's going. But right now, 56, Tate Lytle just making it happen, hammering down. And the best run we've seen out of him tonight. He's with the clean air, no traffic to worry about for him. He is happy up there running by himself.
And caution going to be coming out. Driver spinning around, and it looks like it is the 23 of Smeltzer finally in the middle of a lot more traffic. And it did not go well for himself. I think he might have gotten a little bit of help also. Oh, yeah, it was help from last race's winner, Ryan Barbary. And then 46, giving the 23 a little bit of a bumper. And, you know, our leaders for stage 1, they recognized the 23 would get loose off the exit. Some of these other drivers in the middle of the field, they were not used to how the 23 was driving, and it cost both those drivers.
Just gets loose enough, spins it around, and then gets yeeted away from the iRacing network tonight.
See you later there, Smeltzer. As he should be still on track, I believe. He's still chugging around, but he's going to have to come in and get damage repair. You can see how damaged that right side is scrubbed off. I mean, that left side scrubbed off, and also the rear end a little bit dinged up.
Yeah, the poor 23 Exalta truck tonight just has every single body panel that's been used and abused. The team's getting their full budget's worth out of it tonight. He's going to stay out for a couple more laps, I guess, to wait for the second pit cycle, but it is looking like a rough race truck tonight, Sam.
Oh, completely. It is a rough time. And, you know, for some of the drivers up front, they are getting a little concerned. We're seeing a few drivers from 25th on back coming into the pits. Leading that charge is going to be Dustin Doerr as well as Rishal Kozla. Tyler Fody coming in once again. So I am heavily concerned for the 41 machine, and probably one of the favorites in my eyes on the way that he was cutting through traffic early in stage 1. So now I'm hoping that maybe he'll get a top 15 finish. And that's how you're going to have to really evolve and change your mindset of, I've got a winning truck, to let's salvage how much we can really get here
exactly. In a blink of a moment, it goes from let's win this thing to, all right, 10th would be pretty sweet right now. And again, circling back, like you said, guys are coming out in fresh tires. They go from a tight setup as the run develops to super, super loose right off of it. Just that 5% extra throttle they're trying to carry that they're used to with their tight setup will spin you around violently with a loose setup until these tires come in 3, 4, or 5 laps later.
Yeah, you got to build up that air pressure and heat up these tires, and it takes a while for that to happen. Like you said, 3 to 4 laps, and then you finally start to see everything clicking, and that was what we were starting to see for Scott Crump. We got a couple of laps in, and those first 2, it was very sketchy for a lot of the drivers up front on how they were going to really attack themselves up front, and somehow able to hold on. And then about that 3rd, 4th lap, that's when Crump really started to hit his mark and was starting to really look like he was going to pass our front 3 easily before that caution came out.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Tate, Anders, and Blake had a little bit of luck on that one. Again, most of those guys have pitted on lap 35, Crump lap 47. Tate Lytle showing his lap 21 as his last pit window. So he's definitely on the oldest tires out there on the front of the pack, so he's going to do his best to hammer down, get a little bit of a gap, and with a little bit of luck behind him, the field will stack up, and they'll be too busy racing to worry about him.
That is always what you're hoping for, is everyone's just going to stack up, not realize what's going on. It would be the best feeling. Looking at some of the drivers that have made some really good moves and getting up front, Tate Lytle, like we have notified and noted, he has had to come into the pit roads around lap 15, stayed out at the end of stage 1, and has put himself up front. Anders, another one of those drivers, and also Blake Barney. Those are your top 3 that stayed out, as well as Cooper Johnson in 5th place. But of all the other ones that really have had to battle and put their way forward, Ethan Burrell, another one of those drivers that got hit with an EOL because he came in with the wrong banners. He had to start at the end of the longest line at the start. He's moved himself up to 9th. One of those trucks that's been quick. He's probably one of the fastest drivers in the Xfinity and Cup series. He hasn't been in the trucks. I think this is maybe his 2nd start of the season. Last time was at Daytona to start off the season. So this 40 truck's someone to watch out for as the later this run goes on.
Yeah, surprising to see. Most of the top 15 have taken only 1 pit stop. We've got Ryan Barbieri running 15th, the number 46 truck. He's got 0 pit stops for the night. But across the board, most people one pit stop. A couple of people have taken 2, so they're making it happen today and trying to keep those tires out as long as they can.
Yeah, I mean, you got to figure out how do you want to save your tires. There's a lot of tires, you know, surprisingly, that they can really work with. The fact that we've had so many cautions, it makes it feel like the race has been longer than it really has. We've only ran 57, about to be 58 laps. And now the drivers, most of them have already used one set. There's still 3 sets in pit road for a lot of them. There's a lot of time to be trying to save up and when to go. Tate Lytle gets the green flag, and we are off. Crump going to be stuck in 4th position. Stuck on that high side, not really sure where he wants to take it, as he's going to be following on the low.
Yeah, had a great run, nowhere to go. He's just tucked into the rear bumper of the 00 truck. Crump just, kind of stuck in traffic. It looks like he's going to try and keep it clean. Ideally, he wants to get to that high line, save the tires. That low line is going to shred some tires if he gets forced down there. And see if he can get a run going on and reel in that 56 with the older tires.
I was talking about Ethan Morrell. He started back in 9th place. He's now moved up to 7th and making a charge forward. Might be trying to pressure this of Vincent Isabella in the 42 truck. But this is when things start to really kick up. Stage 2 shorter than stage 1 just because of all the cautions and the way that, you know, everything lines up. So that's why the drivers up front felt like, hey, maybe we could stay out and try to save a set, try to make a bold move. Hank Steinmiller going to have to go 3 wide, able to make the pass and defensive moves for the 63. His truck does not seem happy. Into the wall is going to be Anders, who now is going to be dropping back, losing over 5, 6, 7 positions and more as the 03 goes back.
Oh, poor Anders. You hate to see that. We're currently on board 2 with Scott Crump. He has finally got that running second, right on the bumper of first. He's got fresh tires. He is not afraid to use every little bit of them. He gives Lytle just a smidgen of a bump, lets him know he's there, takes the outside, takes the lead.
He's going to try to work that outside lane, and that's where the speed is coming out of the corner. And just like that, Scott Crump, it might not have been, you know, one of those make your way through traffic and everyone's on the same tires, but sometimes you need the fresher tires. We're going to make a great move like that. Tate Lytle, we'll see how well he can defend his positions, or if he's going to be starting to drop back just like Blake Barney and Anders.
Yeah, again, he's on almost 20-something laps older tires than the rest of the field surrounding him. So that could be, I mean, 3/10 here at Darlington is a lot of time, especially working these big old drafts. The closing speeds can start to really stack things up as well, as you see 63 get right on the rear of Lytle. And he's going to try and do his best to make something happen going inside here.
Going to be doing his best, going to be trying to work that inside lane, but I got to say, great defensive move there by Lytle, protecting the outside through 3 and 4. You can try to defend the inside, but this is where drivers are going to be trying to diamond through this course and these corners, and you could just see Isabella stuck in between that of the 40, of the 63 and the 40, just
nowhere to
feeling
go.
Absolutely trapped.
Yeah, Isabella and Burrell as well. They've all got the pace, but there's nowhere to put it with Lytle right in front of them with their tires. And just nowhere for these guys to make a good, clean pass that's going to stick where everybody's really comfortable going, all right, I need a position, but I also don't need to cause a wreck right now.
Scott Crump loving the fact that Tate Lytle is still in 2nd place, as that is holding everyone up and allowing the 90 to just continue to pull away from the rest of the field. But Dustin Dorr spins around. Caution is not out as the 32 is spun off course, but that is gonna be just coming back onto the racing surface, coming out of 2. And Dustin Dorr is gonna maybe go a lap down with no caution coming out.
Yeah, the race control here doing their best to rely on iRacing's built-in caution system when they can, which means for those watching at home that you're not a big racing aficionado, if the crash happens, the truck's able to get off the racing line, down the apron, and not disrupt the racing, the caution flags will not come out for those guys. But here we go, got a caution.
Yeah, it sounds like this this caution is for that incident of Dustin Dorr. They just as a late delayed. The admins decided, okay, that if it was multiple cars, we need to call this caution, and so it was called.
Lytle getting shuffled back to 6th place during those runs. That pack of 3 finally got around him. Curious to see if he's going to make the call coming for tires at this point, or if he's going to try and press the issue as long as he can with his older tires. I think, judging from what we've just seen and the pace he is able to run versus what he just did, that he will come in and take 4 if he's able to and try and get that pace back. He's going to be interested to see if he goes for another lap around and see what he does.
Well, Anders Krohn, as well as Tony Emerson's going to be also coming into the pits and others. So Tay Lytle deciding track position is more important than trying to stay out there, which, isn't a bad call. But I think if another caution comes out before we get to lap 78 or around that point, he might have to think about coming into the pits just because these older tires, they are going to be hurting him a lot. And if he's going to need points, stay in stage points, if he gets pushed back past 10th position, he has to come in.
Yeah, I fully agree. 45 lap old tires. Granted, 40 of those might have been green, 5 under caution. These tires on a great day, tire conserving, everything else, you'll get 40 to 50 laps out of a run before you start to really fall off. And he's right on that edge where things are going to get a lot slower for him. So, yeah, hopefully if he doesn't come in this cycle, he'll try and stay out, wait for another caution, and then get 4 freshies on there and start hammering down laps again. We've seen it. He's got the pace. He's done a 28.805 today, which is very, very quick around here at Darlington. So we'd like to see him back out there and running that pace if he's able to.
Yeah, that lap time, second fastest goes to Scott Crump in the 90 truck. So a lot of pick and choosing where you want to put yourself as pace car comes across the line. See if we're going this time by, and it looks like we will go another round. As we're going another round, I will be right back, James. We'll be back for once we go green.
Taking you on board with Tate Lytle, the currently 6th position. Again, was running the lead pack, led several laps tonight, I believe 5 or 6 laps by himself. Still running older tires. The front left of the car is looking great. Unfortunately, he's got pretty substantial aero damage around the back right and front right. Not sure if this track's going to be one where aero damage is going to come into play fully, or if he's going to be able to have good short runs with fresh tires. But again, running older tires, he's going to start slowly falling off the pace tonight, especially compared to Scott Crump, who's run up in the lead, who's clicked off the fastest lap of the race so far, currently in the lead. You can hear the guys saving gas as well. If you're new at home, not a big iRacing aficionado, you'll hear these guys coasting or sometimes even turning off their engines, turning them back on, going around under pacing laps. What these guys are doing is inking out every little bit out of fuel of their tank as they possibly can to try and outlast their competitors, get better pit strategies, and stay out for as long as possible to try and get out of the carnage and keep that position.
Yeah, positioning is going to be so important for these drivers on how they're going to be set up, especially moving forward, and how consistent we've been seeing these caution laps coming out. It's a tall order for a lot of these drivers, and how strategy is going to change up once we get to the final about 57 laps.
I think, Sam, if we see any cautions at all come out with 40 or less laps to go, I think you're going to see that lead pack come in, take tires with the intent to go, all right, this is the last cycle that we're going to run. And then from there, it's going to be a game of follow the leader. If we have subsequent cautions and see the leader come in, you might see most of the pack following them in. But, well, it's a gambler's game here at Darlington.
Yeah, it also matters on how big these wrecks, if they ever come out again, how big will they be? Scott Crump able to get another great restart for himself. And the question is, how far back will we be seeing Tate Lytle fall? As the longer this run goes on, the better the tires are going to be. It's going to be Ethan Burrell side by side there with Vincent Isabella and doing a great job on the outside, trying to get the run off, and will do so. Now up to 3rd place.
Yep, great pass by the number 40 car. Again, another car out here with substantial aero damage, but I think Darlington, as long as you stay in that really tight draft pack, it's not going to affect you as badly as if you're out front pushing air by yourself. So it's probably in their best interest to stay in the pack, run 2nd, 3rd, and then if towards the end of a stage or end of a run, if they have the chance to make a pass at the end and try and get a little bit extra points, they can do so. But I think if you're out there pushing air by yourself with that amount of aero damage, you're going to find yourself enveloped by cars pretty darn quickly.
Oh no, issues once again for our points leader, Alexander Van de Sant, coming out of turn number 2. His truck completely explodes. The engine is gone as he's going to be pulling it into pit road.
Oh, you absolutely hate to see that. That is not at all good for the point standings with only a couple rounds left. These guys are fighting for every single point they possibly can, and That is a huge, huge setback for their race program tonight.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing that is a positive is at least he's got over a 70-point gap over, 12th position. So has a little bit of a buffer to work with and also has a win. So will he locked in with that win? But certainly is not the way you are trying to build the momentum up once you go into the playoffs. As we're going to be, once we get to the playoffs, we're going to be shrinking from 12 to our fighting 4 in just 3 weeks. So you need to be hitting your marks right when playoffs start.
Exactly. Every single track is a chance to work on your race program, develop some things, talk to your crew, and figure out what you can do to be up in that front 5 pack every week. Again, consistency wins championships here. So you hope to see those guys in the long run trying to make stuff happen. Looks like the top 4 is starting to tighten up again, Sam.
Yeah, top 4 are certainly tightening up. Scott Crump really was being aggressive and pushing himself, trying to get by a lot of the drivers. And Nate Steinmiller looks like he might have been in safe mode once he saw that those drivers on older tires started to drop back. A big credit to Tate Lytle. Even with the older tires that he is battling in 5th position, staying in front of Dylan Thomas. But Dylan Thomas, the driver's been working through traffic. He's now up to 6th, about to be in 5th place.
Yeah, Tate's still holding a 1.3-second gap from the lead pack. So while he has fallen off, it is not a huge amount. He's just 1 yellow away from still being in striking distance of a lead here at Darlington.
Yeah, I mean, the goal, just stay close, be up front, get some stage points, and hope that you're still there once you get later on. If you drop back to 9th place, Jeff Green, Chuck Sweeting, they've got drivers behind them that are battling side by side. As you got Harrison Talon, who's been involved in a lot of wrecks. And then you've also got Kendall Noah Player, who's been into the wall a couple of times. Tyler Fody, who's went into pit road to get a lot of damage repaired, is now battling up and trying to get into the top 10. A driver we haven't really talked much about, that's Cooper Johnson in the 74. He's right now in 14th position.
Yeah, all these guys, it looks like about a 7 or 8 car pack. Everybody's trying to get that top 10, squeeze out a little bit of points. Currently leading that pack is Jeff Green running in 9th place, but Chuck Sweeting dives to the inside, makes the pass, makes it stick with absolutely no problems. 94 also taking a look inside of the 38. Ooh, they're close, but these guys are making something happen, moving the 38 car out of the way. Looks like his aerodynamics is starting to come into play as cars keep diving inside and able to make it past them.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing for Jeff Green is once he feels like he's going to get close to that outside wall through the center of the corner, he's willing to back out and really lift off the throttle while the drivers around him are really gunning it and sending it into these corners and willing to brush the wall if needed. So the 38 really thinking long term on how do I save my truck, but at the same time he's got into it a couple of times.
Yeah, these guys 2x2. Oh, the Spotify car hits the wall just enough to slow down that pack, starts to stretch him out again. Jeff Green with a huge break with that car, pack of cars behind him just gets spreading out. He is in definitely survival mode. He's playing it safe. He knows, all right, finishing 15th and letting these guys go by when it gets a little bit tight is better than me getting pushed into the wall and not finishing the race at all.
Yeah, that's Brody Moore, that Spotify machine that got into the wall and decided to go backwards. So, the wall can be your friends at time. On iRacing, there's certain ways to actually just like abuse the wall at times to help you get off the corner better. Here at Darlington, 3 and 4, if you hit the center of the corner wall, it actually can launch you off, kind of like the way Bristol has it. There's certain ways. Admins are always looking out so you don't get an advantage by abusing the certain systems that are in iRacing, but man, some great racing that we've been seeing here up front.
Yeah, really impressed. Right as we get to move away, Jeff Green gets a little bit of a tail tap in the wall, slows him down. Austin Beers reeling him in nice and tight. Austin's going to get a huge drive, goes inside, has to check up a little bit from completely obliterating Jeff there. Jeff, he needs to send a thank you note to Austin after the race for not just murdering that 38 machine.
Just like Harrison Talon murdered the wall coming off the corner. Oh, man. You're talking about drivers and how they need to let off. And sometimes when they let off, the drivers behind them, with the trucks and the way that they're set up, you really can't see. If you're lined up directly with someone else, you don't see what's going on. So when they just instantly slam on the brakes, you can find yourself making evasive moves, which means putting yourself in the wall.
Especially these cars in the tighter runs. If you start to lift too much, get a little bit too much brake, it's going to push your truck wide, and you get a meeting with the wall. We see, looks like Chad taking it low, passing Jeff Green, nice and clean.
Going to be trying to make that pass in front of them. Kendall Noah Player actually got absolutely door slammed by Blake Barney and was sent to the inside wall. Luckily, he stayed off the wall, but these drivers dealing with a lot of hard contact that they were not expecting to deal with, but this is what you get when you're at Darlington. You talked about the fact that it gets tight the longer the run goes on. These drivers have been on these sets of tires for over 30 plus laps, and for some it's 50, to others it's 40, for some it's just 30. So the different levels of tightness that these drivers are dealing with and having to conserve, it is all there. And slowing down and really in trouble, it's Chad Thornquist. Thornquist's going to get extremely, he got absolutely a little bit of help coming out of turn number 4, but able to continue going straight, and we stay green.
Yeah, that top pack falls back a ton there. Again, the poor car of the 90, the truck of the 92, and that great Aloha themed paint scheme. Not very eligible on the right side of the truck, but left side still looking good. Just a little bit too much wall here tonight for Chad.
Yeah, a little bit too much wall, a little bit of help, and it is certainly not the day that he wanted to have. Looking at some of the drivers and where they're running and some of the battles that are going on, it has been a wild one for a lot of them. As Dylan Thomas, he's been able to make some great moves forward, but we have seen a lot of DNFs coming out. Certain drivers have parked it for the day. Tony Emerson, as well as Dustin Dorr, he is some of those drivers. Kyle Wallergreen parked it as well as Tyler Dixon and Austin McCurdy, that were all parked as well. So a lot of hard racing and some drivers' days coming to an end early. And Michael Goodman, another one of those drivers that might be having his day done early, as he gets spun out of 2, yellow flag waves, and his engine is blown.
Oh, you hate to see that. Somebody else that's worth mentioning, Vincent Isabella, running the number 42 car, running 3rd place. Slowly climbing up towards the top here.
Yeah, he dropped back and then got some tires, got some repairs done, and now has been making that way forward. So it certainly has to make some moves in the right direction now after going back. But man, looking back at the incident that brought out the caution, it looks like it was Brian Onsen getting into the 44 truck. I think the 44 truck, all the smoke might have been. No, he did get into the wall hard. That took him out. It was all that smoke was actually from him burning his tires. So engine looks to be still good for Michael Goodman.
Right here, Goodman. Nope, iRacing does not want to cooperate today.
Just not a fan. Doesn't want to see the good stuff. It's just too violent for anyone to see. So much worse. As we'll see if these adjustments make things any better, but
Found one more we can play with in the booth. We're going to try that under the replay options.
Having fun with all the different tools that iRacing has for us as spectators. It's great. Well, you talked about late pit stops and some drivers deciding that now is the time to pit. We're waiting confirmation on if this caution counts as the stage break or not, as the drivers are going to be racing to the end of lap 90.
Yeah, we see Crump coming in, I believe, taking 4 tires. As well, in the broadcast booth, we got Jacob Palmer saying he parked his truck, doesn't want to get in the way of the leaders, got a slow truck, still after repairs, so he's making a decision to park it earlier tonight instead of possibly ruining somebody else's race. So as much as you hate it for Mr. Palmer tonight, you got to respect the racecraft and respect for his competitors going, hey, I don't want to be the guy that causes somebody to crash out.
Yeah, don't want to do that at all. Don't want to cost someone else's race. His race was already kind of done after lap, I believe it was lap 15 incident. He was part of our second caution of the day. So Jake trying to go with the honorable way out of saying, hey, I don't want to ruin anyone else's day.
Yeah, as much as we all as competitors, broadcasters, everybody, we love seeing good racing. The worst thing I feel like you can do is ruin somebody else's good run. That feels even worse than crashing your own car in an event.
Yeah, it certainly does. Sounds like when we go green, it's going to be on lap 90, and we're going to be doing a 1-lap shootout possibly here. to see where drivers going to be stacking, which I don't think Scott Crump was expecting that. I think a lot of these drivers were expecting that that caution was going to be the end of it, and when the caution waived, where the drivers were placed was where they were going to get points, and that's why they came into the pits. This is very interesting now because where Crump most likely would have been in the favorite to get first place in those points, he's now going to be hoping that he gets top 5 points
Yeah, sixth
once
place.
we get that yellow.
Yeah, sixth place started on the outside here. Not maybe where he wants to be. A lot of the guys are running the high line and get as much speed as they can, but the old restart shuffle, things get really exciting. As much as he wants to get first, he probably wants to get a clean car, already having a good stage 1 finish. So he may be happy in 6th, might try and grab 5th, depending on what goes on in front of him, but it's going to be a heck of a shootout here for stage 2.
Well, all this is setting up for is a lot of virtual carnage. I am expecting someone up front with the older tires that they have, because they know this is a one-lap shootout. You need the best restart that you can. They are going to floor it and not be as smooth. I'm expecting someone to just get out of shape here early.
Yeah, Austin Beers, Jared Doan, their last pit cycle was lap 48. Ryan Barbieri, last pit cycle was lap 67. So these guys are on 20, 30 lap tires, or old tires, excuse me, compared to the former leader, Scott Crump. So it's going to be interesting what these fast guys can do. Tate Lytle, also fresh tires, lap 87. Chuck Sweeting, Matthew Weeks, all coming on that same pit window. That is a bunch of very, very fast guys running the top 10 behind the top 5 with much older tires.
Yeah, and with Hank Steinmiller up front, he's got to be loving this. This is points that was really needed. He was tied right now 5th in points, so he's already feeling pretty comfortable, but wants to have a bigger bubble with these final 2 races in the regular season, making sure that he's there in the playoffs. As drivers are stacked up, pace truck pulls off. A 1-lap shootout to figure out where they're going to be placing. Only the top 10 get stage points. And what type of carnage are we going to be seeing? Hank Steinmiller waits to go once they're on the straight. Green flag in the air, and it looks like a little bit of a bobble from the 46. Barber going to be having to deal with not trying to get in anyone else. Scott Crump boxed in.
Huge one from Hank Steinmiller. Vincent Isabella tucking in right behind him. These guys, older tires, going to try and just hold it wide, pray a little bit, see if they get some stage points here as they run 1 and 2. But right behind them, Austin Beers, also old tires, running 3rd place. Jared Doan running 4th, also last pit cycle for 48. So these guys are going to be running super, super tight, but there's 3 of them up there. That's just enough people to make things exciting, stack up the field, and keep it clean as we finish lap 91.
Caution waves, and the driver that had the biggest mistake had to be Tate Lytle. He went for the big risk, and honestly could have been a great risk and reward, but it backfired him. Through 1 and 2, went down below the dotted lines where the apron is, and it did not do well. The 56 just kept on losing and wasn't able to really get up to speed while everyone else was. And he dropped from 6th place all the way down to outside of the top 10 to 12th.
Poor Tate, it has been a roller coaster for him tonight. He goes way, way up. He goes way, way down. You hate to see it. I mean, he did have fresh tires. Maybe that was a factor. He's been running on a tight car for the last 40, 50 laps. And now all of a sudden he's got freshies underneath him that are much, much looser off the start, especially going into 1 and 2. Much harder to save him compared to driving that tight setup he's been used to tonight.
Yeah, especially when you're on the apron, you're wanting to go because you're just like, it's flatter. It's not as much banking. You can really start to take off. But like you said, with the slicker tires, you just can't get onto the throttle as quick because your back end just wants to snap on you with as much grip as there is. It can backfire, certainly, as now drivers slowing down and coming into the pits.
That loose snap, it will get you in a heartbreak. Just when you think the car's starting to go, you lift a little bit, you counter steer to correct it, and it just snaps yourself around, and next thing you know, you're along for the ride.
Yeah, it's a utter danger that you do not want to be feeling or sensing. And with the fact that we saw that group of cars pitting about 6 laps ago, and now we've got a large group coming in this time, there's going to be a slight difference on tire difference. There's only about 6 laps different, but truly only about 1 green flag run. So it's going to be interesting on how much that 1 green flag of aggressive driving truly affects these tires compared to the drivers that are getting fresh ones right now.
Yeah, it pretty much just polar flipped that top 10 where the first original top 5, Scott Crump, Chuck Sweeting, Tyler Fode, those guys came in lap 87 and got bumped back 4, 5, 6 positions, cost some stage points, but now they're out front almost equally as fresh tires for stage 2 finish, almost as equally fresh tires now as their competitors that just took this past pit window lap 92 and lap 93. So they should be in a good position for a long green flag run, work together, lock up those front and rear bumpers and start making moves forward and again, get some good points and stay out of the carnage.
Yeah, hoping for a good point stay. Well, it's no longer about if you finish in the top 10. It's all about where you finish here at the end of the race. We're going to lap 147. And if needed, overtime is always greeted. We've got 3 attempts if those trucks are needing a green and white checkered, which, way they're racing, I would not be surprised if we utilize all 3 attempts.
Yeah, it would not surprise me.
But,
The
yeah.
first couple of laps here have been pretty clean, Sam, from what I've seen on restarts. Even on that one where it's a one-lap shootout for the stage points, they're, all things considered, pretty respectable, pretty safe, because nobody wants to get involved in this. But as the race goes on, towards the end, you start getting down 20, 30 laps to go, that's where you can see some really aggressive moves from all the competitors trying to make something happen here at the end.
Yeah, a lot of drivers certainly going to be aggressive, and a certain aggression is needed. Others, not really. Do want to give a huge thanks to our sponsors. Huge thanks to Tilsum and also BYRD for coming on board for tonight's race for the Throwback 200. Tilsum, they're known for being firsthand on how they are going to help you in the HR department, otherwise known as the Human Resources Department, on figuring out on how to have the best foundation to make sure that you have the best programs, tools, and the best assets to make sure that your business is going in the right direction. Tilsum, thank you so much for being on board for tonight's race and being a major sponsor on helping us here at the Elite Racing Network and for the Elite Racing Leagues throughout the week.
If you guys are watching at home and you're thinking, hey, how do I get in on this? Go to the Elite Racing Network website. Sign up. They've got multiple different classes you can do, from tour modifieds to trucks all the way up to cup cars, dirt series. They do it all here at Elite Racing. So sign up, get your name in the hat. You can run with some of the best racers on the sim here. So this is definitely something you want to try out at home. Sign up, Elite Racing Network. They're the guys to be at. This is the league you want to be seen at.
Yeah, also, if you want to be on board and being in the booth, that is another option there on the website. So come on board, join us. Either be a driver, be up in the booth, have fun with us, and talking about racing. It is all a blast, and wherever you feel the most comfortable, confident, and it's always needed for more help. It's great. The Elite Racing League, so massive and diverse. You talk about all the different series from dirt racing to asphalt racing. I mean, you got open wheel racing with the modifieds and Indy cars. It's crazy. You got a lot of real life racers here. I mean, Jeff Green racing out here tonight, 2000 Xfinity Championship. So, you can race with some real life championship drivers. It's always exciting. But for here tonight, green flag back in the air as we start lap 96.
Scott Crump, another patented huge launch by him. Chuck Sweeney following in behind him. They're going to try and get a line for him on the high side. 41 going to do his best to drop low and get high again in the draft, but nowhere to go as he does a little bit of a slide job. Cody takes the position, now running second.
Fody gonna be, what a recovery for the 41. He had so much damage that he had to repair back on around lap 50 to 56 in that window. It put him all the way back around really 30th place. He's been making a charge forward, now into second place. And as they continue to stay like they are, the battle also for 10th place on back, side by side. Drivers that have fresh tires, led by Hank Steinmiller. He's back in 12th, trying to figure out how to cut his way back up into the top 3.
That's where you get the most exciting racing, I think, when the guys are mixed in with people with fresh tires versus the old tires. You can see this pack forming up behind Crump that's led by Fody. He does have a fair amount of aero damage compared to the rest of the cars behind him. He's got to stay in that draft with Crump. If he gets out pushing air by himself, he's going to lose a little bit. I mean, even 5 miles an hour is going to be a lot. Keep stacking those cars up, and like you said, with fresh tires coming into play, things get really exciting as people try to take different lines and have different braking points going into here.
Yeah, that was something that we were seeing early on in that first stage of drivers running through one another. I think that was the major thing of those braking zones on how they really were differing and changing. And, the longer the run goes on, excited to see how they're going to be changing. It looks like Tate Lytle, though, off of turn number 4, hard into the outside wall, and he is losing positions and about to be shoved into the outside wall once again by Barney.
Poor Lytle is having a rough round tonight.
I mean, he certainly had a fast truck at the start. I mean, he qualified up in the top 3, and it has not worked out for the 56. He's just got into the outside wall early, had a lot of damage he had to repair. and now he's just getting moved all over the place, and everyone's kind of turning into a pinball just because how much they are just being knocked around into the outside wall.
Yeah, Darlington's one of those really tough tracks. It's a shorter NASCAR track where you kind of get in your own head. You have one incident, and you're like, okay, that's not good. And then it starts compounding, and you get in your own head, you get frustrated, and the mistakes start getting worse and worse. And then you have other drivers coming into play, and then sometimes things can go from really good to really bad. And all it takes is a couple laps or a couple incidents, and you're right there in the mix of it.
Scott Crum still up front. He's got Tyler Fode about 2/10 back. A driver I'm surprised that's in our top 5. That's got to be Chuck Sweeting. This 75 machine at one point thought was about to be a block and about to be spun by some of the drivers. Now he's challenging Tyler Fode for second place. Ethan Burrell, one of those drivers that had come in late, and a driver that has not been racing all season long, but certainly fast in some of the other series that Elite Racing League puts on. So not surprised to see the 40 up in the top 5, but Dylan Thomas and also Ethan Burrell, they had to make charges all the way from the back of the field up front because of some banner issues. Also in 6th place, Matthew Weeks, he's been able to make a great comeback. And also Anders Krohn, the 0-3 in 7th place. He's had issues also about 20 laps ago where he was off on the into the inside wall on the backstretch. Now up to 7th place. Great rebounds for these drivers.
Yeah, I think as you start to see these longer runs above lap 103 at 147 here at Darlington, the cream always rises. So these guys you see up here are no strangers to long runs. These are not 40-lap race guys. They're here to do long runs, and they know what it takes to be up there at the end of it, which is extremely important. So, yeah, they might not get talked about a lot in the first opening 50 or so laps, but they're very familiar with what it takes to be up here at the end of the race, which is definitely the most important part.
Oh boy, Kendall Noah player cutting off Anders, and I thought for a second we were going to have a wreck for 7th position. They still stay green though, and really it's, you just look through the whole entire field, there's a lot of small battles that are going on. The battle for 2nd place is happening, also a battle for 9th place, all the way back to 12th. They're on top of one another.
Yep, Tate Lytle's got a 3-pack behind him, it looks like. He's got the 42 right on his He really wants the position, but he wants to keep his truck nice and shiny, the iRacing back truck, as he is right on the bumper of Lytle, who's, again, he's gone forward, he's gone backwards, but here he is sitting at 9th.
Yeah, and right now, I mean, for Tate Lytle, he's just happy that if he can finish out with the top 15, in my opinion, just because of how much it's been beaten and banged. I know with the talent that is in that truck and also how fast it's been all day, he would have said that he was a top 5 truck, if not a top 3. But with how much damage there is, let's just conserve what we can. Vincent Isabella, as well as Hank Steinmiller, they have some of the freshest tires out there. Certainly a driver to watch out for if they can somehow make these passes and move forward.
Yeah, Vincent originally running 2nd place at one point. We know he's got the pace, he's got the tires, he's got the truck. Now he's got to navigate this traffic, especially this huge battle for 9th place, and see if he can get up there towards the end.
Yeah, I mean, trying their best at the moment. Tyler Fode not able to make his way forward. He's losing time to Crump. Crump is doing a great job with the fresh air, pulling away. As, oh boy, contact with Vincent Isabella and also Krohn to the come up. Oh my goodness, Barney somehow able to hold up and a whoa up from absolutely plowing through Isabella. And that was a door slam. That frustration is building up with both Krohn and Isabella. They've been side by side for a while, and it finally has boiled over. Contact, and this track is already tough enough racing by yourself, let alone side by side with someone.
Yeah, Krohn being forced down that bottom line, even as far down as the apron at one point. That's going to kill his tires, get him frustrated. He knows he has the speed to run the pace, but now he's getting in his own head a little bit. Needs to calm down, take a few big breaths, and start catching up his pack and make something happen.
Man, oh man, how are they going to this type of hard racing? I mean, this is the longest green flag run we've had all race, and you're kind of not surprised that they're racing this hard. This is really a part of the race where, for some drivers, yes, they felt the tightness slowly building up in those first 2 stages, and now they are feeling that change immediately. It's not just a gradual change of, I need to let off. It's your truck can snap in an instant or just plow up the track. Everyone's got to be careful.
Yeah, this past 30-lap run, I don't think the guys have really done any tire management at all. Back here, 10th through 15th, they are holding it wide as far as they can, driving as deep as they can. And like you said, the tires are going to start falling off very, very rapidly as they absolutely destroy that front right tire on these trucks. As the 92 gets right into the bumper of 03, 00 hits the wall, tries to go low. There are 3 wide at Darlington for a moment. 92 down on the apron.
Yeah, you do not want to be 3 wide, especially at Darlington, and going into turn number 3. That is a very dangerous place to be putting your truck.
Yeah,
somehow they stay together.
Yeah, 00.
Oh
Blake Barney had a big problem and slowed way down. Tried to get low to avoid getting in the other race car's way, and he's got a big problem as he is rapidly falling off the pace here.
Yeah, Barney, one of those drivers that has gotten into the outside wall, also into other drivers this race. So, not surprised that it might have been just finally his car giving out on himself. Jeff Green, also one of those drivers that was running in the top 15, top 5. He's running back in 16th after getting in the wall a couple of times. So a lot of drivers that I was expecting to have good runs, they are starting to fade back quickly. Harrison Talon, another one of those drivers, back in 23rd position, all on his lonesome.
Big pack running for second all the way through 6. Scott Crump's kind of checked out. He's doing his own thing with almost a full second gap on Tyler Fode, but behind them, 3rd through 5th, they're running as hard as they can. It looks like Fode's holding up Sweetie just a little bit as they're riding bumper to bumper. Boys.
Yeah, they're going to be just on top of one another. Chuck Sweeting, notoriously known for being one of those drivers that can just save fuel and tires the best, which means on these longer runs that you go on, that 75 machine is the one that starts to move forward and be up front better.
Right,
Tyler Fode known for just going.
Right, you say that. Sweeting takes a peek at Fode going down low, seeing if he's got the pace to carry that low line. Thinks better of it, checks up just a little bit, tucks back in the draft of Fode as they go back into the next corner.
And, oh man, they got to be careful here. If they're going to be battling this hard, Chuck Sweeting, you know he's starting to feel a little bit of that pressure, but it's still a long race, boys. We're coming up to 3 laps to go here shortly, and then you can start thinking about the strategies of when do you want to pit, if you're going to pit, because we never got to see a green flag pit stop because we never were able to be green for this long, and now it's the question of when will we be seeing any issues, and soon for our leader, Scott Crump, when will we start seeing some lap traffic? The first car that he's going to be finding himself with would be Zach Evans, and that's not for probably another about 9 laps or so.
Yeah, it looks like Evans is about 10 seconds in front of Crump is what time and scoring shows. They're gaining maybe a few tenths. Right as I say that, we got Dylan Jones. He's in the pits. Yeah, even gaining 2-3 tenths a lap, it's going to take quite a while for lap traffic to come into play. What's going to be very interesting for me is if we do a green flag pit cycle during this, how many we're going to take, talk to their crew chiefs. Are they going to slide on 2 tires, 4 tires, and try and gain a little position to overcut here for some of the other guys, and take that gamble to see what's going to be worth it to keep them in that front pack at the end of this. Right as we say that, looks like Sweeting goes into the wall hard on the outside. He gets overtaken by Burrell, and I believe Fode, that was Fode into the wall, number 41.
Yeah, Fode, after trying to repair that truck all night long, that hard lick could be spilling the end for the 41. Fode was really doing well for himself, but now going to be losing 2 positions, both to Sweeting and to Burrell. And now it's the question, who's got tires left? Coming into the pits and going to lap down, that's going to be Brody Moore, and not surprised to see Moore
number
coming into the pits.
9 into the pit wall, hits, the 53, hits hard on the inside of the racetrack.
Well, we wait and see. Will the admins call a caution on this? But Dylan Thomas, blown up engine and goes to the pits. We stay green, but Thomas was up to 6th place, having a great run for himself after rebounding after the early EOL, and it all goes up in smoke.
Oh, Thomas. These guys working so hard, 120 laps, run the top 10, doing the best that they can for the entire time, and then just one little bit of misfortune and your entire night is ruined.
Thomas he came in so hot in the exit of that corner, and he got a little bit of contact with Kendall Noah Player, who got into the wall, and that's what launched the 53 into the inside wall, blowing up his engine. So it wasn't a self-spin. There was a little bit of help from some contact from the 94.
Yeah, looking forward to the post-driver interview after that one. See whose feelings are a little upset after that one. I have a feeling tempers are going to be high following here at Darlington.
Oh, yeah, and then we're going next week to Atlanta, where it's also going to be hot and slick. I think if they're going to be getting any revenge, it might be at Nashville in 2 weeks. when it's the season, when it's the regular season finale, when you get to see who's going to make the playoffs or not.
Yeah, good old short track racing. Easy to disguise a little bit of revenge with the good old-fashioned bump and run.
Yeah, it's one of those things of Nashville. There's a lot of banking. You got to worry about the transition, and one of those tracks that is surprisingly loose when you think it might be a little bit tighter, and it really sneaks up on drivers. The pack that is driving right now for sixth place, that battle is between four different trucks, and they are squished all into one another.
Yeah, Hank Stanmeyer led that pack here in the number 7. Kendall right behind is it looks like Vincent, Tate, Kendall going back and forth, and they do 2-3 wide at some point, trying to make something happen.
Yeah, I mean, they're trying everything they can to be making some moves.
Car
Kendall player
joins the racetrack. Blake Barney coming back out of the pits. Oh, a good 10 miles an hour slower than that pack.
Yeah, Barney is not been really ever since he's been racing this season. He's been very reckless on where he puts his truck. And what's interesting is he screams about, "Hey, I want some respect on the track," but he does not give much for the rest of the field.
That is a classic C-class rejoin if we've ever seen one. Oh, my seat is pinched here in the broadcasting booth.
I mean, you really got to be aware of where you're coming up, either having a spotter. I mean, a lot of these drivers are inside of discourse with one another with other drivers, so they can really communicate when you're coming in, but you're also given telemetry to tell you if you've got drivers coming up from behind or not, and Barney just was not paying attention there when he just drifted up.
Barney, thankfully for that pack of 6th through 9th, these fresh tires, he's out and starting to pressure Tyler Foti, it looks like. Lap traffic definitely coming into play, just not how we expected it here tonight at Darlington, but still for the most part on this green flag run, fairly clean, fairly respectable racing.
Yeah, and really the question mark, I think, is if we've seen a couple of drivers coming into the pits. Barney going to be one of them. A lot of the others, like Dylan Thomas being wrecked out, Brody Moore came in. Mark Keller can also another one of those drivers that have parked it for the day. So now the question is, with Barney with these fresher tires, he's really closing up. He just is getting by Matthew Weeks, who's in 4th place, who's trying to catch up to Ethan Burrell. Barney could be one of those drivers that is a factor by accidentally bumping one of our leaders into the wall, causing a little bit more damage than they were expecting, and it is going to be something to worry about as battling that's going on is for 9th place, where we've got ourselves 3 different drivers on top of one another.
Yeah, Kendall player Cooper Johnson, all getting very nice and tight, 2 wide at one point. Looks like Kendall fell off just a little bit, maybe decided, you know what, they're willing to go 3 wide. I'm not quite ready to do that yet with over 20 laps remaining. However, again, 20 laps remaining. If there's a time to make that charge and make something happen, this is it.
This is so interesting to see how much this track and race has changed. Those first 2 stages, it felt like every 5 to 10 laps there was a caution. Here at the end of this thing, once we went green, it's been green. And the question of, can these drivers make it to the end? And I think a lot of them might have been banking on, with how aggressive they were early, that we were going to see a lot more cautions, which is backfiring and hurting them. If you saw some of these drivers really saving and conserving, they're now making great charges forward.
Yep, Tate Lytle still running in 8th place, pressuring Vincent Isabella pretty hard for that 7th place position. So he's managed to get back up there, still running top 10 despite the issues he had in these earlier runs. I 100% agree. These guys, the beginning of this run, wide open, 20 laps, tire strategy out the window. Like, hey, you know what? Safe bet. We've been 10, 20 lap runs. We'll be all right. Here we go, pushing lap, I believe, almost 30 at this point on these tires. So cars are going to start to tighten up really, really hard here in the next 4 or 5 laps. And you're going to see things get a little bit slower, but a little bit more dangerous as well as they start pushing towards that outside wall and exit.
Yeah, a lot of these guys have been running out on about 35 laps of green flag racing on these tires. For some of them, they haven't pitted for the last 41 laps. So it's been a lot of hoping that maybe this thing would go green. But here's the thing, if we do go green, these drivers still have to hold out on these tires and fuel for another 20 laps unless they feel like they have to pit. Most likely, a lot of them are going to be trying to stay out as long as possible and hope that a caution doesn't come out.
I think fuel is also going to be a big strategy. I think these guys are going to be talking to their crew chiefs and their team channels and whatnot going, hey, are you sure we can do these 25 laps? Going from memory, I want to say they're 45, 50 lap runs on these trucks under green conditions. So they're going to be pushing it. You might see some guys start doing a little bit of fuel saving towards the end of the run as well, just to eke out, try and skip that last pit window if they can and bring it home under green. However, if there's a green-white checkered, everything goes out the window and pit strategies are for naught.
Well, James, it's time to look at our leader. This is the worst type of racing, when there is no longer fresh air and lap traffic to try to get by. As lap traffic gets into the wall, and this is when things get scary. That was Zach Evans bouncing off the wall, almost getting into Crump. And now that everything is tightened up, really your tires are gone. You're hoping just to survive, and now you got to figure out how to stay side by side with the leader that is flying by you, and you're hoping you don't slam into the wall and bounce back into them.
Yeah, checking up the pace a ton. Scott Crump's got Chuck Sweet right on his rear door, a half second off as Crump is the first one to navigate this traffic. You can see his hand going out the window here, and what that means for the other lap cars, they're aware of, oh, okay, any backs coming through. I need to start, open my eyes a little bit more, which might make it easier for Chuck Sweet to come by and catch up to Crump.
Yeah, trying to keep things as close as possible, and really when the drivers are side by side with the leader in the middle of the corner, it's giving great opportunities for Chuck Sweeting, as oh boy, Crump does not want to see a driver, especially a lap car, try to do a crossover move, and Rishak Kozla giving a little bit of fright there to Scott Crump.
Looks like Chuck might have given the old bump and run to Rish Kosia, one of the other broadcasters here at Elite Racing.
Yeah, Kozlak just came in with a lot of speed. I think he was just trying to give a lot of room to Sweeting and just gave a little bit too much into the outside wall, and now going to be hurting himself and the lap cars that he was around, backing them up. And now Matthew Weeks has to worry about getting through this. Is going to be in contact. Here comes Ethan Burrell. More contact with the lap car, and the 14 losing speed, and now most likely going to lose more positions.
Oh boy. Just like that, 10 laps, things get really exciting really quickly. Crump still navigating traffic. Chuck hot on his door, trying to get that draft while also trying to stay alive with this big 5-6 pack of lap cars.
Yeah, I mean, the lap traffic certainly has changed a lot. It has made it to where Chuck Sweeting went from being 2 seconds back to less than a second, but as they stay a little bit more fresh air for Crump, it has really helped him gap away from Sweeting once again. And Scott Crump, I talked about it during qualifying. He's been really good on getting qualifying great, but it's been race pace and staying consistent that's been his biggest struggle. This has been one of the most fabulous races he could ask for, especially coming to the end of the regular season when he was outside of the top 12. This race could automatically put him inside of the top 12.
Yeah, it looks like, too, on board with Crump, you can listen to his revs, and he's backing his corners way, way up as that front right's starting to finally go. Coasting a lot of the corners, using the rear end to get that car to pivot just enough for him. But you can definitely tell they're pushing wider and wider on exit when they're not pushing those brake markers back, as that front gets super, super tight on this longer run.
Continue to try to figure out where they want to place themselves as we are coming closer and closer to 10 laps to go. James, it's been a blast. I have been loving this. This is the Tolson BYRD Throwback 200 here at Darlington. It's been 135 laps, now the start of 136. These drivers have been green for quite a long time, but that cannot be the same said for stage 1 and 2, where we had a lot of cautions coming out. Almost over half the field has been involved in some type of incident, and now we're left with a total of 23 drivers. We're now down to 18 drivers left on the lead lap, and that number is probably going to dwindle down if we continue to stay green.
Yeah, with a two-week break after coming off Bristol Dirt, a lot of these guys might have come back with the same mindset where you just got to make something happen and car damage be damned. And you can kind of see it developing at those first couple runs, the first 50 laps, where we had a bunch of cautions, bunch of cars and trucks going home early due to damage. So I think as things have started to stretch out, they get back in that speedway mentality. The non-dirt mentality, and go, all right, this is how we need to do these runs and make it click off, and starting to make things happen as Crump is once again pulling a gap on Chuck Sweeting over a second now as we head into the final 9 laps here at Darlington.
Yeah, he's been doing a great job. Some close battling that's going on. He's back for 9th place. Sanders Crone as well as Vincent Isabella, and you throw in Cooper. That's a lap car that they're racing with. They are right on top of one another, battling for 9th position. Isabella just has not been able to figure out how to get by the 0-3. They have been locked on bumpers for practically the last 30 laps, and we've seen both of them body slam one another and just willing to do anything to try to get themselves up front.
Yeah, we got Tyler Foti running in 6th all by his lonesome. We got Lidle running the 56 truck, still kind of by himself pushing air as well. So these guys have spaced themselves out just a little bit where they, with a little luck, it doesn't look like they're going to be able to bring home any more positions from here without a draft partner to work with. But at the very least, they'll be able to finish, and then a top 10 would be amazing for a lot of these drivers tonight.
Yeah, honestly, just for some of them, top 10s, top 5s. And for those that have been involved in a lot of wrecks and their truck is just absolutely riddled with damage on the right side because of the wall, a top 15 feels pretty good for themselves. Some drivers we really haven't talked about all race long. I want to talk about Zayshawn back in 17th place. Really has just been consistent, as well as Alec Balvance in 18th. These drivers have just been lingering around, both trying to stay on the lead lap. They're doing a great job for themselves, even with how long this race has probably felt for themselves.
Yeah, going to Zayshawn's car, getting a little bit squirrely as he uses just a smidgen of that apron, which really upsets the truck. He gets around the 44 of Michael Goodman. Again, these guys pitted lap 86, 87 respectively, so they've got quite the old tires, and they are pushing those front of those trucks extremely badly. At this point, just hoping they can make it 7 laps on fuel at this point. If we can keep this up, we may not have a yellow, and then we might see it where it is, but anything goes here at Darlington.
Yeah, really anything goes. And you know, got that battle going on. We also have a 3-truck battle that's going on for 13th place with Austin Beer, Jared Adane, and as well as Kendall Noah Player. They've been on top of one another. Kendall Noah Player once was battling for the top 5 position, but he has gotten in the wall so many times that it has pushed this 94 back to 14th, but has been slowly trying to get himself back in to possibly 13th position. A little bit of a recovery after how this race has just been unfolding the last 15 laps.
Yeah, good racing from front to back tonight. The guys that managed to survive, stay on the lead lap. There's not been a whole lot of points, but there hasn't been some sort of action on the racetrack. This is definitely good, tight racing for the most part.
Yeah, trying to make sure that they are staying up front. I mean, really right now, especially with the unknowns of how their car is going to react. They've been out there on track with these tires for over 50 laps now, and that just means that there is a lot of wear and tear and the possibility of the unknown of your truck going straight into the wall, just plowing or snapping loose off the exit.
Yeah, not sure if we're going to see the tires get so bad on this run when they have to worry about full degradation, hitting that 0% mark, and things get really spiced really quickly. I'm more worried about, for a lot of these trucks, the fuel run tonight. I'm not sure if they're going to be fuel saving these last 3 laps. I think for most part, these guys are going to hold it wide if they need to pull the clutch in the last lap so they can finish. But I think it's going to be close for several of the guys out here.
Well, it's coming to those last couple of laps, last 3 laps of this race. And up front, it's close. Within 0.3 of one another, Chuck Sweeting, he sees lap traffic in front of our leader, which means it is time to go. He once again cut it down. It was over a second gap. Now it's less than that. And now a chance for the lead as Crump looks extremely slow. Either his tires are off or he is in major fuel saving mode.
That's what I'm saying. He looks like he's falling off a ton. So he might be at that ragged edge where it says, hey, you've got half a lap of gas left. You need to come in for pit. His crew chief, either in game or in real life, screaming at him, but he's going to do his best. He's falling way off the pace as he goes around lap traffic. Michael Goodman almost gets collected by that lead 2 pack as Chuck Sweeting takes it to the inside.
Tyler Fody, who's inside of our top 10, he's not going to be able to make it. He has to pull into pit road. It is all about fuel as we are coming close to the end here. 1 lap to go. Does Scott Crump have enough to make it? It's 3/10 as we go into corner number 1. And right now, Chuck Sweeting, he might be thinking about fuel as well as he is now losing time and Crump is taking off.
These pickup trucks might start hiccuping all the way around the corners as they get to the low side of that fuel tank. It may very well be a slow race to the finish as both these guys are trying to eke out just enough gas. They should be okay. Matthew leads 3rd place, over 3 seconds behind him, so if these guys bring it home. Oh!
Whoa.
Almost a photo finish.
He ran out. Scott Crump ran out. Chuck Sweeting was saying great job. Unknowns to him, Scott Crump was running out of fuel as they were coming across the line, and it was less than a 10th when they came across.
Huge congratulations to Scott. That was way too close for comfort for him, I think.
Oh, completely. Jeff Green somehow is going to fumble his way across the line. Cooper Johnson just came across the line in 14th place, and a lot of other drivers behind him coasting through the backstretch, hoping they can get to the line in time. But man, Scott Crump certainly was not the way that he thought he was going to have to win this race. But, James, you brought it up. Fuel was something that these drivers had to worry about. And Crump, in those final about 10 laps, had to go into fuel saving mode, and just that enough.
Let's give a huge thumbs up to Vincent Isabella pushing the leader, or the winner tonight, Scott Crump, into pit lane under Vincent's power. That's a good friendly rivalries here at Elite Racing, as they have to push the leader into his pit stall, unable to make it under his own power because that sucker is empty.
Oh yeah, he came out of fuel with about 200 yards away from the start finish line, and just so close was Chuck Sweeting, but was not able to get it done. Congratulations to Scott Crump getting his first win of the season, and much needed for the 90 machine, as now 2 more races to go here in the regular season. And this changes things. Crump, one of our favorites with qualifying, and now that he's figured out race pace, this is very scary for the rest of the field.
Yeah, looking at my my live time and scoring, it shows the gap as 0.069 seconds is what I'm seeing on time and scoring. So, oh man, that is a close race, just decided by fuel. Chuck Sweeting almost had it. But again, huge ups to Scott Crump. His crew chief paid off well tonight. That guy deserves a raise as he finishes just barely ahead tonight here at Darlington.
Just enough, and as drivers are coming to a close, we wait as drivers getting ready to be pulled in for drivers interviews. Our top 3 will be at the waiting. But James, what are some of your thoughts there? I mean, we got to see a long green flag run, which we didn't think we were going to see at all.
Absolute spectacular race across the board. We got past the first 50, 60 laps. Everybody was able to survive here at Darlington. Well, for the most part. We lost a lot of good men out there. But, I mean, good racing from start to finish, especially after that lap 87 or so pit cycle where everybody came in. Good long green flag run. Couple of incidents. The caution did not come out. Maybe to the misfortune of that lead pack. They might have been really, really banking on it after so many short runs tonight. But fuel definitely came into play, and these guys were able to bring it home under their own power.
Yeah, able to do it. And now we'll get to talk to some of those drivers, starting off with 3rd place finisher Matthew Weeks. James, I'll ask question, you ask question, and then I'll ask another one as well as we pull in Matthew Weeks, 3rd place finisher. Hey, Matthew, it's Sam and James up at the booth. You got us?
Gotcha.
Well, you didn't have the qualifying run you wanted. You had certainly a very quick machine, but then you had to deal with traffic. How was it in those first 2 stages?
It was crazy. I gave myself damage jumping on a restart, so that kind of slowed me down a tad, but them lap cars are crazy.
So Matthew, this is James up in the booth. How did your tire and fuel strategy develop in that 3rd and final run? I think for the most part, we were all expecting more short runs tonight, and you got that very long green flag run. Were you worried at all with tires and fuel as you realized, oh no, we're going green the whole time?
About 10, 12 laps into the run, I started looking, noticing we was like 2 laps short. So while I was riding like 6, I think I was saving as much as I could just to be able to make it.
Yeah, I mean, it was a close margin on who was going to make it or not. It was a fun time to watch. But I will say this, you're close in points. You're right close to the bubble of the top 12. We're coming close to the end of the regular season. A great run here. We're now going to be going to Atlanta and Nashville. How are you feeling about those next 2 racetracks?
I feel good about Atlanta. That's one of my favorite tracks. I'm going to try to pick up a W there. And Nashville, I really dislike that track. So
Yeah, it is. Nashville is probably one of the tougher tracks here on iRacing. But before we let you go, the floor is yours for any shout outs.
Yeah, shout out to Ryan Lust for sponsoring me in the truck series. Shout out, Pro Edge, man. Give me confidence to keep running well. It's helped a lot this season.
And that's Matthew Weeks. They're in the 14 machine. Congratulations on a 3rd place run. We'll be talking to you hopefully next week.
All right, thank you. Y'all have a good night.
And then we got Chuck Sweeting, who's been known for great saves and fuel and tires. He was able to make it to the end, but just wasn't enough. Chuck, it's Sam and James up at the booth. You got us?
How's it going?
I mean, that was one of the wilder finishes you could ask for. I heard over the radio you said congratulations to Scott. Did you think that he had enough fuel, or did you back off at all, or was there anything else you could have done in those final couple of laps?
Well, I was close on fuel, and I usually get more mileage than most guys because I back up my entries a lot more. But so I wasn't really sure. He had a big lead, so he was able to save if he wanted to. But looked like he cut it pretty close. But man, he saved just enough and got the win. So congrats to him. But it was a pretty good race there at the end.
And Chuck, 0.069 seconds separated you from Scott Crump tonight. Anything you're going to change on your strategy going into next week in Atlanta? It's going to be a little bit faster, a little bit looser?
We'll have to see how what the weather's like and how the truck handles, but it's always been a fun track. I'm usually pretty decent there, so we'll have to see how it plays out. But I'm looking forward to it. It should be a good race.
Chuck, I mean, a great run for yourself, finishing in the top three. Do you feel like this is great momentum for yourself moving into the end parts of this regular season into the playoffs?
Yeah, I hope so. I got a win in the Cup last week at Charlotte, so I should run there again. Should run well again this week in the Cup car. So maybe we got a little bit of momentum going. We'll see how it plays out.
It is certainly going to be a fun one. Well, Chuck, before we let you go, the floor is yours for any shout-outs.
I just want to thank Old Testament, C2 Freight, Rich Forest, everybody with the league that helps the league. It's a pleasure to run in, and I know it's a lot of work for those guys. So a big thank you to Ethan. He's got a lot of work admin in these races every night. So really, really do appreciate him.
That's Chuck Sweeting, going to be able to get a second place finish, and good luck next week at Atlanta.
All right, thanks a lot, guys.
And now we got the winner. Sue puttered his way across the line. It's going to be Scott Crump. Scott, it's James and Sam up in the booth. You got us?
Yeah, 10-4, I got you.
Well, Scott, you somehow did it. James brought it up. Sounded like you were trying to save fuel in those final about 10 to 15 laps. At what point did you feel like you might have been able to have enough to make it to cross the line?
Really, I didn't even know fuel was a problem until 5 to go, and the crew chief or whatever said you're 5 laps to go on fuel. I'm like, oh crap! So I was like a half lap short, so I knew I had to save just a little bit, and I ran out of gas coming out of turn 4.
Now, Scott, you pretty much, when you had the good restarts and the pit cycles didn't come into play, you were pretty much up there running your own race for the most part. Did you think lap traffic was going to be more or less of an issue than you ran into here at Darlington tonight?
I knew if we get some green flag runs like we did there at the end, it might play a little bit of factor. I got stuck behind them for a little bit. Sometimes you get some that don't respect the leader or whatever. They're not looking in their rear view, see that the leader's coming, don't move over out your way. And it's just tough to pass here, so you don't want to make a mistake and crash both of you. So you kind of got to take your time, get around them.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I mean, Scott, you're really starting to hit your mark now. We know that you're extremely quick qualifying-wise. You always seem to be up front. But now you've figured out that race pace. You got the win this season. Does it feel like a monkey off your back now that we're starting to move closer to playoff time?
Yeah, I definitely had a rough start between EOLs for line changing to restarts, putting me back in the field, and then I get caught up in wrecks and stuff. But yeah, just I've been limiting my mistakes, and that's how I keep on finishing well now.
Well, Scott, a great job on your part to have enough fuel to cross the line and win this thing. Probably the most dominant car all night long, so congratulations on that. Before we let you go, though, the floor is yours for any shout-outs.
Thank you. I'd like to give a shout out to my sponsor, Stay Tuned Sports. Jimbo is the man. Been with me for a while. Gonna stay with me for a while. Enjoy being around him. And also give a shout out to my team, Ruthless. Jeff ran decent. He got in a little bit of trouble today, but overall he finished, 9th, I think. And he's running good in points right now.
Scott Crump in the 90 machine, able to get the win here at Darlington. Congratulations, and hopefully we'll be talking to you next week. Well, James, Darlington comes to a close. 2 stages, then we race to the end. We got to see basically 2 different races on how it all shaked up, but Any final thoughts from your side?
I mean, I'm exhausted. I can't imagine what the drivers are feeling right now. I think everybody's going to be looking forward to Atlanta next week, especially after running Bristol and then a short track right behind it. Atlanta's going to give them a pace, go back to the bigger open tracks, and maybe a little bit calmer for them. And then we're going to go into Nashville for the ending of this bad boy, where things are going to be nice and tight and crazy all over again.
Yeah, Nashville is going to be a crazy one for the rest for the ending of the regular season, and how drivers are going to be aggressive, trying to put themselves in the best positions to make the playoffs. For tonight, it was a wild one. Like I said, it felt like two different races combined, a long 147 lapper here at the Tulsa Bird Throwback 200 for the Elite Racing League Old Testament Firearms Truck Series. That was round number 6. Round 7 goes to Atlanta next week, and we're excited to see it same place next week here on the Elite Racing Network. It is going to be a fun one to watch for these truck guys on how they're going to evolve going to a 1.5 mile course. For myself, Sam Dyer, and for James East, thank you for running the booth there. James, it has been awesome working with you tonight, and hopefully we'll work more in the future. But for tonight, thank you so much for watching us, for being able to watch this amazing race. Have a good one, and we'll see you next week.
Have a good night.